Before I get into the meat of this video, I want to tell you that the phrase "save your bacon," which is in the title of the video, goes back over 300 years to a time when bacon was slang for the human body. To save your bacon meant to save your life or save you from a serious physical harm. These days, the understanding has changed so that save your bacon also means to kind of get you out of a jam, a difficult situation. Now, I'm going to tell you about an old and largely forgotten tip that was once widely known and used by carpenters and other makers and fixers. And I haven't used it in many years, but I had a situation where I needed this. And it was up here. I had it filed away. It came right to the surface when I needed it, and I used it, and it saved the day. It got me out of a jam. The problem I had involved driving the small Phillips head screw that you see in this photo. That single screw holds the plastic trim for the handle assembly on an awning window in my house. Knowing that this was a task that required a careful touch, I opted not to use my electric drill with a screwdriver tip. Instead, I put the plastic piece in place and used a #1 Phillips tip in my Pickwick Super 8 Plus screwdriver. I commenced to slowly turn the screw into place. The screw was 1 inch long, and at about 1/2 inch in, I could feel the screwdriver start to cam out. Cam out, or camming out, is a process by which a screwdriver slips out of the head of a screw being driven once the torque required to turn the screw exceeds a certain amount. Now, before I stripped the screw, which is what happens if you cam out enough, I remembered this idea. And this is an idea you want to remember before you strip the screw. The trick is right here in this little can. Valve grinding compound, sometimes called lapping compound. Valve grinding compound has a lot of different uses. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you about some of those uses. It's kind of a bonus feature, and you don't want to miss that. Valve grinding compound consists of small pieces of metal abrasive mixed with grease. The tip that I want to give you here is to apply a small dab of fine valve grinding compound to the screw head. That compound allows your screwdriver tip to get considerably more purchase on the screw head. But I also did one more thing that made a big difference. I'm a firm believer in drilling pilot holes for screws, especially in a situation like this. So I found an online screw sizing chart, like you see here, and I first measured the head of the screw. It was 13/64 of an inch. I measured the outside of the threads, what they are calling the shank hole size, and it was 7/64 of an inch. So I clearly had a #3 screw size. And the recommended pilot hole for a #3 screw size is 1/16 of an inch. How did I measure those small sizes? I used my digital caliper, a very useful tool in any shop. And I used my drill gauge. The drill gauge was actually quicker and easier for this application. So I drilled a 1/16 inch pilot hole for the screw. That and a little dab of valve grinding compound on the head made the task of getting that screw into place very easy and satisfying. One last thing before we get to the bonus feature, and that is that I remember back in the early 1980s when I was getting started in the building trades, I kept a small tin of valve grinding compound in my toolbox. And I remember it as a tin, and I'm pretty sure it was called Screw Grab. Well, Screw Grab is still available, but not in a tin. It's in a little bottle, and you can buy it on Amazon. But I recommend that instead of buying some on Amazon, you go to estate sales, because those are a fantastic source of tools and hardware and valve grinding compound. Look for those estate sales in older houses with a little workbench in the corner of the garage or down in the basement. Basements are usually better. That's where you'll find your valve grinding compound and a whole lot more. Now for the bonus presentation. This is a picture of a little booklet that I picked up at an estate sale. This is actually a photo that I got online because I can't find my copy. It's here somewhere. It'll turn up eventually. The title is Shop Kinks. What in the world is a kink? That really had me scratching my head, and then I discovered that kink was an old word for what we these days would call a tip or trick or hack. It was evidently a common word back in 1924 when that booklet was printed, and it was used through the 1950s, as these pictures show. The Shop Kinks booklet from 1924 contains numerous kinks for using clover grinding and lapping compound. Here's an old clover compound tin. There are many of these available on eBay. Clover Manufacturing Company was started by a guy named Edward Beach Gallagher in Norwalk, Connecticut in the 1910s. Mr. Gallagher made a fortune with his clover compound and died in 1953. In accordance with his wishes, his wife gave the company and their 200-acre estate to her husband's alma mater, the Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. I don't know the history of the company after that, but I do know that Clover compound yet lives and is now sold by Loctite. As for the little 1924 book of Clover Kinks, the whole book is available for free online, and I have a link to it in the description of this video. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up, and I'll thank you kindly for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.